What we need to do, I think, in our train trips is take time and actually make use of the time that's there. And what I love about train travel is that I don't need to concentrate on driving. I can veg out or read or whatever. When I was studying for my master's, I travelled from Armidale, where we lived, to Sydney once a term for residential school. And I went by train, and I did my study prep on the way. And on the way home, I'd write a sermon or a talk, and I used the time, I thought, really, really cleverly. But boy, was it good to get home. And how do we prepare and use time that we have for our spiritual journey? Now, there's a couple of things here that I want to point out, and this is by no means complete. In Luke 10 and verse 4, Jesus tells the disciples to carry no money bag, no knapsack, no sandals, and greet no one on the road. Now, this is about what to travel with. Not necessarily the luggage, but don't be encumbered with extra stuff. Another good thing about train travel is you can't take too much. But the idea is not to take stuff on your journey that impedes the journey. Spiritually, we need to take this on board. Don't be involved in things that stop our growth towards Jesus. One thing I've noticed lately when I've been reading the Bible is that Jesus ministered to people while they sat down. He actually told them to sit numerous times. Matthew 14:19 and 20 says, "Then he ordered the crowd to sit down on the grass, and taking 5 loaves and 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and said a blessing. Then he broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied, and they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces left over." That's an amazing story, isn't it? And here we see Jesus telling the people to sit so he could minister to them miraculously. Awesome stuff. If we sit and we allow Jesus to minister to us as our journey goes on, we will benefit. We'll be fed spiritually. And sometimes it's just sitting. Jesus asks his disciples further on in the book of Mark to sit while he prayed. Mark 14:32 and 33. "And they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, 'Sit here while I pray.' And he took with him Peter and James and John and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, 'My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch.'" Notice he instructed them to sit, not to do anything else. He just said, sit. Then further on, he says, watch. Now, we know from the rest of the Bible story that they actually fell asleep. Sometimes the simplest things for us to do are too much for us. We need to take time to sit with Jesus, sit in his presence, and sit with him in whatever way. Matthew 11:28 and 30 says, "Come to me all who labour and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." This is about taking rest in Jesus. Take the rest when you can get it. Notice it says all who labour, Jesus will give rest. It also says to take the yoke, and that's the bit of the pulling apparatus that goes over the shoulders. In other words, you're still going to have to be working hard, but God is there and makes it easier to a point. He will provide the rest that is needed for your development. It's the same on our spiritual journey, isn't it? Things can get hectic and our growth can be hard, but God provides what is the necessary resources, equipment, and situations for it to be achievable, including the restful bits. For me, some of those times sitting on a train were those restful bits. Doing some stuff, yes, but resting at the same time. How are you resting in Christ? Bless you.